What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, we're actually going to be performing a dual deep dive episode on Latios and Latias. So why are we covering this? They're actually going to be getting a special raid day weekend, and a lot of people may be curious about, number one, which Pokemon should you end up focusing, and then of course, are they going to be worth powering up, unlocking a secondary charge move? How should you actually use these Pokemon? Because there has been a little bit of an update. Number one, we've got some new moves, and then number two, we also have an update to moves that they had in the past. I'm also going to be using some updated graphics throughout this video, so hopefully you do enjoy that. If you do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Latias with a max AP of 3,510. Latias is a dual-type Pokemon of Dragon as well as Psychic. For Latios, we've got a max AP of 3,812. Latios is also a dual-type Pokemon of Dragon as well as the Psychic typing. So initially taking a look at both of these Pokemon side by side, you would assume that Latios is probably the more promising one, but there is going to be the time and place for Latias to be able to take over as like the better option between the two. But typically what we like to do is to go ahead and take a look at the actual statistics of the Pokemon and then get into the move set. So let's go ahead and do this. We do have some updated graphics, by the way, so hopefully you do enjoy it. Hopefully it makes it a little bit more readable. The first one that we will talk about is going to be Latios. So for Latios, it maintains an overall ranking of 22nd in Pokemon Go as far as its stats are concerned. Its best stat is going to be its attack stat at 268th. That is going to be ranked, or 268, that's going to be ranked at 27th in Pokemon Go. And as far as its max AP is concerned, 3,812. So yeah, it is going to be a little bit more attack heavy if you want to look at it that way. And now for Latias. So for Latias, it has an overall ranking of 31st in Pokemon Go. Its best stat is actually going to be its defense stat as far as its ranking is concerned. It's actually ranked at 16th in Pokemon Go as far as its defense is concerned. Really, the low point is technically going to be the stamina. I know a lot of people focus on like Latias just not having as big of an attack stat. We all know how big of an emphasis the attack stat is in Pokemon Go. So I would say naturally, I'm inclined to say that Latios would probably be more effective. But of course, we have to talk a little bit about the moveset. So by the way, the one on the left is going to be for Latias, and the one on the right is going to be for Latios. But regardless of that, here's going to be kind of the thing that I think a lot of people need to focus on, and that's going to be the movesets that are going to get the stab benefit. And just consider these Pokemon as more than just Dragon type attackers. You also could kind of use these as a Psychic type attacker as well. And to be honest, a lot of people have kind of like overlooked that, but just remember, there's one thing that's kind of going on with these Pokemon that we need to just kind of keep in the back of our minds. And that is the move Psychic. So Psychic was not the best Psychic type move in the past. However, it got upgraded, so technically Psychic is now better than Future Sight, which was the previous best move besides Psystrike, but that's only on Mewtwo at least right now. So I think it's important for us to revisit this. These Pokemon are actually very good from the Psychic typing, and it would honestly, it might shock you to see how good they are with this upgrade. So firstly, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the raid results, and we are going to talk about it from the Dragon typing. And one thing that's kind of going on is that Latios, it actually does make it into like the top 12 spots in a lot of cases. So that is a kind of a positive thing. But as you can see above it, there are clearly some better options from the Dragon typing. For example, when you have something like a Garchomp that's a non-legendary, you've got Salamence that is a non-legendary that's doing better than Latios. And even Dragonite, I would honestly say go for those types of Pokemon over Latios. With Latios being legendary, it is unfortunately a little bit expensive from the Dragon typing, and then Latias is just nowhere to be found from that raid side, at least for this specific raid. So now let's go ahead and talk about it from the Psychic typing, because like I said, you might be surprised at how good Latios and Latias are from the Psychic typing. And I wanted to go ahead and pull up some raid results versus a Machamp, a very classic raid. I would think that Niantic would change Machamp and maybe go for like a Conkeldurr or a Lucario or something, but for some reason, Machamp just continues to be the staple tier 3 Pokemon. And as you can see, Latios is in at the second position with Zen Headbutt and Psychic, and it's really only being beat by, of course, Mewtwo by a mile. But then when you talk about Alakazam here, if Alakazam does not have Psychic, which is a legacy move for Alakazam, I would think that Future Sight actually puts it behind it. So Latios could be considered like the second best, most practical type of Psychic type attacker. And then unfortunately, Latias just isn't on here. So I just want to give a little bit of an update that you may want to reconsider this Pokemon and using it from the Psychic typing, because Dragon typing is just super crowded in the space. There's just too many good Pokemon there. So anyways, for those of you out there who are interested in doing like kind of the Team Rocket grunt battles, I would recommend potentially using Latias or Latios, actually preferably Latias in this case, against a fighting grunt if you do end up running up against it. I personally haven't seen this one in particular, so if it comes up, just keep that in mind. It could end up being good. So let's of course cover PvP briefly. And as far as PvP is concerned, I wanted to go ahead and show you the best rankings which actually occurred in the Masters League. So here's kind of what's going on. We actually have Latios performing better in the Masters League than Latias. So you can go ahead and take a look, of course, at the moveset for these two Pokemon. But a little bit of a disclaimer is Latias ended up doing better than Latios in the Ultra League, but still, their rankings were definitely both better in the Masters League. So these Pokemon are actually fairly solid in the Masters League, so they might be worth investing from that regard, and it is definitely something that you should consider when investing. So should you end up powering up this Pokemon, invest your resources, unlocking a secondary charge move? Well, I think that Latios actually has a little bit of an argument where you could say, you know what, it's not that bad as a Psychic type attacker. It's mediocre as a Dragon type. I mean, you've got some flexibility with it. So to some extent, yeah, it could be an okay investment. I personally think that there are better ones, and I would recommend you to use your resources on another Pokemon. Because of both of these Pokemon, of course, being legendary Pokemon, the resources are going to technically be more expensive, where you're having to raid out there, get those candies, invest rare candies, things like that. And then for Latias, I honestly do not think that this Pokemon is worth it at all. The fact that Latios can now beat it in PvP just, to me, says Latios is clearly the better investment of the two, but overall, neither of them are actually a good investment. But I would like to know what you think about both of them in the comment section below. Do you see any usability for Latios? For Latias? Do you think that they are good in some different ways that I just didn't discuss? Anything and everything, whatever it is, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.